You like comics? You bet we do. How about artwork? Yeah, we fucking love that too. You like movies? Whether they are old or new. How about streaming? We watch that fucking shit, it's true. But it's comic book art that gets us all fired up for the all-time great. So let's buckle up. Hear me out, I'ma tell you how it all goes down on the Blacklist Underground.
Welcome to the Blacklist Underground, brought to you by Ideal Organic CBD, starring our favorite artist, Zach Howard.
Hola!
Zach is creator of the hit series Wild Blue Yonder, as well as illustrator of The Cape, Hellboy, Judge Dredd, TMNT, and too many others to mention. I am your host, enthusiastic comic book aficionado JC Washburn. Each episode, we choose a comics legend to ink a comic book panel of, and this week's giant who's getting blacklisted is none other than Michael fucking Golden. This week, we welcome our special guest superstar artist, the Reverend Dave Johnson. Hi, Dave.
How you guys doing?
He burst on the scene like a goddamn nuclear blast with his hit series Superman Red Sun, creating the global franchise Ben 10 and going on to draw award-winning cover artwork for virtually every major publisher and becoming an enduring fan favorite among those who drink and those who draw. Zach, hit us up with our Patreon blacklisters this week.
Love it, JC. Well done. Okay, we're actually growing. What do you know? We'll burn through this so we don't waste time. No particular order. Patrick McNerney, Steve McKay, our favorite, Kurt Kroll,
Hey, Kurt.
currently filming Kroll 3, son of Kroll, Olga Macia, Philip Jean-Pierre, Anthony Digi. We're not going to say his last name, folks. Andrew J. Brown, Bill the Geist, Scott Buon, apologies, I suck. Robert Berman, Danny Earls, the pro soccer player, Max Machado, who just won a recent book, and for some reason it has Clara Meath, my assistant. So good old Clara.
Deep pockets, Clara.
There we go. Well, let's do this. Thanks for coming, Dave. This is so cool.
Hey, thanks for having me.
JC, you want to start telling us about Michael Golden and what we're doing and all that?
Well, one of the things I like to do is I pull quotes from comic book artists, and some comic book artists are more quotable than other comic book artists. You know, like Chaykin is very quotable. Barry Windsor Smith is very quotable. Golden, not that quotable.
Yeah.
I mean, this particular, we're sort of focusing on his Micronauts phase, which is when everybody sort of started to realize that he was God. But he wasn't quite God yet, but he was God-like at that point.
Well, totally. I mean, he's the reason I got into comics. As a kid, I started buying Micronauts, and, you know, a lot of people forget that Micronauts predated Star Wars.
The toy line first, right?
Yeah. And, you know, here I was, a kid not really paying attention to comics. And then one day I go to the local Five and Dime, and on the spinner rack was Micronauts number 5. And that just, I was like, wait, there's a comic, you know, with my favorite characters, you know, I mean, and so I bought it immediately. And, you know, looking at Golden's art kind of was a primer, you know, that everybody else had to live up to after that.
Well, Arthur Adams had the same experience. Did you know that?
With number 5 or?
It was number 1.
He's older than me, so maybe that's.
He's a little bit older. But he brought the Micronauts comic to school. He bought a bunch of them and brought them to school and told his friends, he said, this is what I'm going to do.
Wow. I just wanted to play with Micronauts. You know, I didn't really know I was going to. I mean, I'll be honest, growing up, I always looked at comic artists as something that I would never do just because it seemed like, well, you might as well just tell me to climb Mount Everest. I thought only gods, you know, could do that job. And even as I was older, getting more and more into art, I I went to art school for like commercial illustration because I just never thought comics was even a viable choice, and somewhere along the line I lucked out, met the right people, and ended up joining Gaijin Studios, and all of a sudden it became like, oh, maybe I can do this for a living,
And I was reading, of course, I read up on you as well, Dave, even though I've been a fan for many years. There really wasn't a bad artist at Gaijin, was there?
Yeah. I mean, it was full of
Murderer's Row, man.
Yeah, full of talent. And we all
good parties too.
we all had attitudes like our shit didn't stink too, which was kind of a bit much, but we were all young and full of confidence, and we just thought we were badass sons of bitches, and in a lot of ways we were, but we also had our difficulties maintaining deadlines and all that kind of stuff. So it had its trials and tribulations, but it was for me it was about 2.5 years, and it really set the tone for the rest of my career. So
I mean, there were so many artists there who were just so sound.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I guess, Jason Pearson, I suppose, was there, right?
Yeah, I think he was, I can't remember the exact order of who got there when. But yeah, I mean,
Adam
funny, well, I was going to say it's funny. Originally, Brian Stelfreeze didn't want me in the group.
Oh, really?
Well, I was the one guy who, like Cully had just secured Mosaic. Jason secured Legion of Superheroes. I was the one guy that didn't have a regular gig yet, and Brian didn't want a studio full of wannabes. I mean, I get that. That makes sense. I didn't take umbrage to it. So what they did was they said, well, you can be here, but you don't have a key. You're not a permanent guy until you get a permanent gig. And as soon as I got, I did a thing with Joe Phillips. He got offered to do 2 issues of the Web for DC Impact Comics.
Yep.
And he basically took it just to get me a foot in the door. And he said, I'll do half the issue if my friend Dave can do the other half. And if you like it, then maybe you could hire him for the second issue that you need done. And that worked out. So I did a whole issue, and then that led to a Wonder Woman annual that Joe did half, and then I did the other half. And then that led to me getting a job offer to do my own series called Chain Gang War. So
is that the one that John Dell inked?
Yeah. Okay. John Wagner created it, and didn't really go anywhere because it didn't have any superheroes in it.
Fortunate.
In fact, they tried to shoehorn in Azrael like last minute. But it wasn't a superhero book, so the sales weren't that great, and eventually it got canceled. And but before it got canceled, I got a job offer from Eric Larson to do Super Patriot. So
that's obviously where you came on my radar.
Yeah, same here.
So yeah, that was pretty badass. The money, like the money was crazy compared to what I was making at DC. So
yeah,
my editor at DC, a guy named Dan Raspler.
I know Dan from way back in the day. Is like the first editor that would even like talk to me. So.
Yeah, he had a rep for not exactly, I mean, he could definitely lose his temper. So I was worried when I told him that I was basically quitting the book. But then I told him how much I was making at Image, and he was like, "Well, he couldn't exactly be mad at me at that point,
Yeah.
So that was good because we remained friends, and yeah, it was nuts. It was a totally different experience.
There's an urban legend that that Rob Liefeld called John Byrne and offered him $100,000 an issue to draw Supreme, or to write and draw Supreme, and Byrne flatly turned it down.
Yeah, that's I don't know if that's true or not, but I could see it happening. I mean,
it feels like it could have happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, Byrne was the other guy. It was Mike Golden and Byrne, Micronauts and X-Men that I was really, really into. Unfortunately, I had the mispleasure of meeting Byrne. That kind of turned me off to the guy a little bit.
Did you meet him at a show? I hear he had trouble at shows or whatever.
Yeah, I was doing Chain Gang War, and it was in Atlanta. That's where I was living, and he was a guest, and I waited till he was, didn't have a line, and I went over to talk to him just to, he was my freaking idol, and wasn't too pleasant. Is
that the infamous time when he told you that you were a Galassi ripoff or something?
Yeah. Well, not a ripoff, but he said you draw like Paul Galassi, and just kind of turned it, and that was it. He turned his back on me.
Yikes!
And I was kind of like, well, all right. Not exactly the most joyous meeting.
He's not like Reed Richards. He's like Dr. Doom.
Yeah. So that not the best meeting.
That sucks when you meet somebody and you're just so excited, and then they just end up kind of deflating you, just popping your balloon. You're like, come on, man.
I mean, it definitely taught me to be a little nicer to people. That have come up and talked to me. I generally try to be nice unless they're like crazy.
Overtly something.
Yeah. So, and it's funny.
I think I pissed off Golden once.
Well, not hard to do.
No, didn't seem like it. But I was just a kid, and I went up and I said, "Is it true that you really, tore up the artwork for?" I can't remember what it was, because there was a legend that he had torn up some artwork.
Yeah. And
I said, my God, imagine how much that would be worth now. And he was so pissed when I said that.
Wow. Yeah, I could kind of see him getting a little aggravated.
Well, I was just an excited kid, but I made my way out down to Mark Texeira or something.
I never had the gall to say hi to him. I'd like walk, I'd be like 3 booths down from him at a show or something, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So,
well, I mean, he's changed over the years, because I met him before he started doing shows, and once again, it didn't go well. I met him in the Marvel offices.
Because he started in the 2000s again, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
For cons? Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure of when he actually started doing shows, but I met him. I got to meet him at the Marvel offices when he was the cover editor, and yeah, once again, didn't go well. But luckily, years later, I got to meet him. I was standing in line waiting to get my pro badge at a show in Florida, and I realized, oh shit, Mike Golden is standing literally in the same line right in front of me. And so I said, well, let's try this again, and he was way nicer. It actually went really well.
Well, I like hearing that.
And ever since then, he's been he's always been nice to me, Well,
that's great.
On his face, and as long as you don't, berate him about tearing up artwork, I think
it goes well.
Yeah, pretty much that's the key to success with Mike Golden. So,
people do tend to mellow with age, I think.
I don't know. You can walk up to him and say, "Hey, why do you rip off Arthur Adams so much?"
Oh yeah, that might not go as well as you think it'll go.
Oh yeah, I suspect.
I think I believe he was ripping it up because it might have been that continuity stuff where Neil Adams was redrawing the faces.
Yeah, I don't know if that doesn't sound right, because I know he's a huge Neil Adams fan. I mean, he's always looked up to Neil Adams. So I don't know. I don't know if that
doesn't have the ring.
But also a lot of Mike Golden lore is just
BS.
Yeah. So
all those superstars, though, it's a game of telephone mixed with just BS. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories I heard was, like he shot a cop in the ass,
right?
That kind of stuff, and
yeah,
for finding the cop with his wife in bed, yada yada yada, and heard things like like he did all those Batman covers while in jail.
Oh, really?
I met Mike Baer in the early 90s, I think, or late 80s, and I said, "What's Mike Golden doing?" And he says, "Time."
Wow.
Once again, who knows? I mean, I do know once he pulled a gun on John Beatty.
Whoa.
That's intense, man.
But he caught John going through his garbage.
Weird.
Well, in Beatty's defense, I think he was his best inker on the Nam.
Oh yeah, no, John's a great inker, to be sure. So,
but he shouldn't be digging in trashes, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, John was looking for artwork that Golden was throwing. He was such a fan that he was he knew Golden was probably throwing away prelims or half done or things that he didn't like. So he thought he would clean up,
corn swaggle something real quick.
Yeah. So yeah, here's this guy. Probably, I don't know how well they knew each other at that point, but here's this dude going through your garbage. I mean, I'd probably
if that was pre-Nam or post-Nam.
I don't know. You did get John Beatty on the show.
We'll have to do that. That'd be a pretty cool one.
That's kind of one of the interesting things about Golden, because pure gold, nothing is as good as pure Golden, particularly in his prime. But for those of us who were following him when he was drawing the Nam, he had Armando Gil ink the first issue. Now Armando really is doing time, I believe.
Yeah.
And he had actually Bob Camp inked an issue, which was actually really good.
Interesting.
You wouldn't think that would be a good pairing, but it was actually really kind of cool. And then Beatty inked it, and it turned into kind of one of those deals where, you can kind of Golden worked with some inkers and not with others.
Yeah.
He did that X-Men annual that had a dozen inkers.
Oh, many hands. Yeah. I always hated seeing that credit because I knew that some artwork was going to be butchered.
Yeah. And there was some heavy Rubenstein on that X-Men annual.
Yeah. One day I'm gonna, as a gift, buy Rubenstein some smaller brushes.
I think he's a pen guy.
Really?
That is what I hear and what he says.
Interesting. Regardless, circle back to positive stuff. Yeah, Golden really. I like the Micronauts, but he really exploded for me when he did that Rogue annual, or was it a Fantastic Four annual or something?
No, it was an X-Men.
Was it?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Rogue was in it, and it was just. I think it was at the Terry Austin inked it or something. It was just.
Well, that was another Armando Gill.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
there you go. It was just I wore the paper out of that thing.
Oh,
So
it was brilliant. But it's funny, Dave, you're one of those guys that I don't like to see inkers on.
that's for certain.
Yeah,
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I believe me. As soon as I started doing image work, I was like, I've had Andrew Robinson ink me, and
Kevin Nolan, right?
Kevin Nolan. Ultimately, I found that it's just hard to get what I want in pencil to try to translate that, and it just became like I'd rather fail on my own than have somebody ink it and kind of miss the mark of what I'm trying to get across.
That's why I left DC, man. So it's cool to hear you say that.
Let's be honest, being inked by Kevin Nolan is awesome. But at the same time, it's not really me,
Yeah, he's going to kind of take it to places neither of you thought, probably.
Yeah, there were a couple of times on the Wildcat stuff that he changed some body language stuff that I was like, why would you change that? And that,
yeah, that was the machine lady that I'm remembering it now. She's like running down the street or whatever. The images are coming to my head now.
Yeah, she's running down the street and carrying what's his face. I forgot the character's name, but yeah, when I drew it, I knew Kevin was gonna redraw it anyway, so I drew Bart Simpson's head.
That's excellent, man.
Because why not, And but no, I forgot. Once again, I can't remember the names of the characters, but I remember. No, it was a scene with these two lover characters. I can't like the really smart Asian dude and his girlfriend, and I had her standing and I thought was a natural position, and he totally changed her body language, and it ended up making her look like she needed to pee. And I was like, why? There was nothing wrong with that pose,
Well, it was right for Kevin.
Maybe he had to pee.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But for the most part, you can't really complain about being inked by Kevin Nolan.
It's a hell of an experience, man. I remember when you, I don't know if you were drunk or on crack, you agreed to color an MGM cover, I think. No, it was for Machete for that movie. So,
yeah.
You colored. I couldn't believe you said yes. I just on a whim got brave and asked you.
I pretty sure I colored that way too dark.
IDW prints dark and fucked it up anyway, so who cares? But dude, just the honor. We had our experience where I had to get my gush out on your Batman covers and what it did to me in college. So it's always neat to hear your version of that, like with Golden and getting to work with some studs right off the bat, man.
Yeah, I got lucky. You always hear horror stories about people getting into comics and being ripped off by unscrupulous publishers and not getting paid, and
yes,
I just went straight to basically DC.
Yeah, no bottom feeding for you, man.
Yeah, I got lucky. I've like you said,
you had the skill too, man.
Well, lots of people have skill, but they just they end up meeting the wrong people, and next thing you know,
that's for certain.
They're just being taken advantage of. So
there's a lot of potential bad experiences, man.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Golden's kind of an interesting case in that he's kind of like Buscema in a lot of his quotes, because he says, look, I do this as a job. I do it from 9 to 5. This is my job. And I wake up and I do it, and I do the best job that I can.
Yeah.
But then in other interviews, he's like, I love to tell stories, and it's probably the thing that I'm best at. So he's kind of like, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Because he is famous for his quote where he says he enjoys design work and commercial work more than comics because it changes up so much.
Yeah.
Now, that's just the quote I read. People evolve and/or are complicated, so I don't know what's what, but that was the one I read.
Well, he says, this is one of his exact quotes. He says, I love to do comic books and graphic narrative-oriented material because I love to tell stories. I found out that's my one gift in life. It's not that I'm an artist. I try real hard at it, but that's just it. I have to try at it. I never had any trouble telling stories. Just ask my mom. She's always called me a great little liar.
Nice.
But, I mean, it comes back to, I mean, even his earliest work, I mean, he's kind of a freak. I mean, he was just so unbelievably talented from the get-go. And he also did not have any comic book influences. In one of his interviews, they asked him what were the comics he read growing up. He said, no. He goes, actually, where I grew up, comic books were hard to come by. My mother would buy big boxes of Disney and Archie comics from the Salvation Army just to keep us quiet on trips. That was basically it. I don't remember seeing a superhero comic until just shortly before I came into the industry. That's like not knowing basketball and becoming Michael Jordan.
I mean, I think that's what made him special is he didn't have, he wasn't trying to be anybody else,
Yeah, it gave him a superpower almost, right?
Well, it just gave him a unique voice that, and his ability to draw really set him apart. I've heard stories about, when he got to DC and Marvel, I mean, all the guys were just like, holy crap, man, this kid is like insanely good. You kind of wish you had the same experience as an artist, I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to meet guys like him and John Byrne when I was starting out, because I was kind of hoping to be that guy, to be that super badass. And eventually you just have to realize, well, that's not your lot in life,
Yeah, you're not a prodigy, so you got to grind.
Well, I got no complaints about my career, but let's be honest, it's not. I'm no Mobius. I'm not leaving the kind of legend, that other guys have reached. I've always felt like I'm a solid B player, but I don't think
you're one of the greatest comic or cover artists as far as legacy is concerned, I would say.
I don't know. I mean,
I can say that without overtly smoking your pole here, sir.
I don't know.
I appreciate your modesty, but I'm going to say that. And I can say that because I would not be sitting here if you didn't do covers. So.
Well, I appreciate it. But you know what I'm saying. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm no Alex Ross. I'm no Jim Lee. I don't command like, hundreds of thousands of followers. And that's fine. Yeah. It is what it is. I got no complaints. I've done all right. If I were to die tomorrow, I wouldn't be sad about it. I've lived an easy life career. I've never really, I never got ripped off by a publisher. I've made some good friends. Being a cover artist was kind of easy, to be honest. So, I got no complaints. Not everybody gets to be Michael Jordan,
And we need it. The world's colorful because there's different people. and different voices, especially in art, man.
Yeah.
You know, you can argue who's the greatest guitarist of all time, but everybody's going to stop and listen to Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton, and you can argue who's the best, but they both brought unbelievable amounts of joy to people in endless ways.
Sure.
You know, forever,
I mean,
long after we're dust.
I mean, I assume you're just talking about rock guitarists, because man, there are some guys out there that smoke those two guys.
Oh,
like
yeah. Jimmy wasn't even a proficient. I always use him because he played his guitar out of tune, upside down, blood bubble in his nose, and he was just kicking everybody's ass. I just like that in a person that, I don't know. I don't have prodigal talent. I'm a effing grinder. I don't have any drawing ability. It's just been, very difficult for me in that aspect. So I guess I appreciate the people sometimes that don't have the Michael Jordan talent. Not that it doesn't take an obscene amount of skill and fortitude and wherewithal to see all that through, to even attempt that level of success. I know I don't have that, but I like the great thing about art is sometimes the person with the most skill, it doesn't mean you have the best voice or you have the best or the most to say.
Yeah.
And that's why I like this field. Not that I've achieved that, but that's what I'm going for. So,
I mean, the thing I love about comics is, and it's going to sound crazy saying it, but it's a throwaway medium,
almost. It's purely commercial, at least in its genesis, right?
Well, to me, what I love about doing comic art is if I screw up, there's always next month.
Yeah.
Oh. I wish I could have that freedom, man.
Well, it's not. I mean, compared to, say, if you were doing, high-end paperback novel covers, where you better get that image right because it's going to help sell the book.
Yeah, millions of copies are going to be floating around with that image on it compared to Warriors annual number 74. Probably fewer people are going to see that.
Well, exactly, and they'll still be there to buy the next issue. Whereas you got to get it right, like I said the first time when you're doing a novel cover. I mean, that's what I loved, and it became a huge influence for me of the old pulp novels from the 50s and 60s. Those were just, once again, trash medium. It didn't matter. They would come out, be on the stands or whatever briefly, and then they were gone.
Yeah.
So they didn't pay a lot for the covers, and you could tell the artists were grinding them out. They weren't killing themselves to, make these things like, masterpieces. But a lot of energy came from that,
Yeah, and the completion and the expertise and execution became almost the art form rather than deep fine art thinking of what you're trying to express.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. I used to compare comics to that period, It's just, we're just having fun, The covers don't really mean anything. I mean, occasionally somebody will do a cover that transcends the medium,
Pops,
and kind of has a life of its own. And that's kind of what you hope for.
But you can't control that, man. That's that's a gift from the universe when that crap happens.
Exactly. One of my all-time favorite covers was done by a buddy of mine, Jock, and it's that Joker cover.
All the bats.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that and I was like, game over.
That's he grand slammed that one out of the park.
Yeah, and I've been nominated and have won an Eisner for my work and stuff. But what drove me nuts was he didn't win an Eisner for that cover. I mean,
window awards. I mean, reflect.
They don't mean anything, but that really made me even more like, yeah, awards.
Dude, you lost cover Eisner like 4 years in a row. I was pissed off. So, you're doing 100 bullets, which to me transcends the medium. I was looking forward to your covers almost as much as the damn book, which is rare as rare gets, I think.
Unfortunately, James Jean came along and he kicked everybody's ass.
Just fucking handed it to us.
No, yeah, exactly. Every year I would get nominated, and then I would see James Jean's name on there, and I was like,
"Don't even go."
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then when he finally retired,
when have the masses and that stuff ever reflected longevity and greatness and profundity of achievement, etc.? All the greatness that has come and gone, and it never even got considered for an award.
Well, the other thing that drove me nuts was when Andrew Robinson.
He drew a really cool recreation of it's like Wolverine fighting like 15 ninjas.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyways, Andrew Robinson did a recreation of that for me, and it was insane.
Yeah, I've known Andrew, God, from day one. And, I've always been, a friend of his. And unfortunately, gosh, I mean, social media is not Andrew's friend. And
no.
He did that whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. And now he's literally toxic. I mean, people that want to hire. As a matter of fact, I'm doing covers for Shirtless Bear Fighter.
Yes.
Because they can't hire Andrew. He's toxic.
Well, I was text messaging with him at that time, and I said, I'm not into canceling people over their opinions.
Yeah.
It's like there's too much. I mean, I've talked to Zach about this quite a few times. I mean, sometimes they cross a line. Like if you've got a Woody Allen, it can they cross a certain line, and you can't look at their art the same way.
Yeah.
Andrews is a genius. I mean, he's probably a golden level genius in my opinion.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, believe me, I sit
prodigal level skill. I mean, I don't know how a mind like that works when you watch them work. It's amazing.
I mean, yeah, it's
politics aside, it's just freak level, right?
Freak level.
Can you hear us, Zach?
I can.
Oh, okay. All right. Just make sure.
Sorry, I'm just a big asshole and I was talking over you, Dave.
Well, I didn't want to, I wanted to make sure that we weren't in that same situation again.
I'm always in my own world. Apologies. Even when my favorite fucking artist is here.
Did you hear us talking about the Robinson thing?
Right at the end. That's why I was saying, despite his politics aside, literally one of the most amazing artists I've seen, met, everything, just pound for pound. You're not a prodigy when you meet artists like him or Sean Murphy or something. You're like, well, can't do that, so got to do something else.
Well, going back to my point about the Eisners, when he lost to Saga, over his the Fifth Beatle. I mean, oh my God, that I was freaking.
I love Saga. But
how could anybody look at those two books and go, "Oh yeah, yeah"? I mean, no. I don't mean to bash on Saga, but
Saga's great. But the winner is clear, as far as to your point. I would say,
yeah. One was like a 5-year, journey of trying to do the very best art you could, and then the other one was just a monthly book.
That's great.
Art goes, there was no comparison. I mean,
if that's what we're judging art, then yeah, I agree. If art is the measure, who's the best? Regardless, again, politics aside, one of the absolute, just most profound illustrators I've ever seen or witnessed.
Yeah.
So
I cannot argue that fact one bit.
How's you're smoking along there, Dave, as far as your art's concerned? I've never done anything like this, so I'm having trouble with this character.
Yeah, he's a unique character.
What are you doing with the giant nipples?
I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna change them. You know, they're
I'm
there.
doing the nipples the same too.
Yeah, I mean, I just say go for it. You know, it's the character. So
Yeah. Back when our villains had, or heroes and villains had nipples alike.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the toy, though. I mean, he was just following the toy.
Oh, of course. I'm just
Uber nipples.
Well, that's kind of one of the hallmarks of Michael Golden was, his ability to look at a GI Joe vehicle,
his mechanical drawing,
and to be able to interpret it in 3 dimensions on paper, like no one else had done really before. I mean,
he just got better at that too, because if you look at the Tom Strong stuff he did, like that annual,
yes,
he's like drawing a suit of armor like it's nothing, like mechanical exosuit, and for an almost throwaway story. It's freakish, his mechanical ability. Apologies, whoever I spoke over.
I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, it definitely seems like it's true, but I'm pretty sure he's one of those photographic memories.
Yeah.
Oh,
pneumatic memory or whatever, visual recall perfection.
Like whenever he was drawing all that Nam stuff, it's not like he had to trace or anything like that. He knew how to draw it.
Amazing.
So yeah, I mean the guy's a freak.
Well, it's like the famous Frazetta story. They asked him. They said, "We need you to draw a bunny rabbit."
The jackrabbit.
And he's like, "I've never drawn a rabbit, but here goes." And he draws this perfect, cartoon, perfectly.
He just closed his eyes, they say, for like a minute, then opened them and drew and it's not just a shitty rabbit. It's like a jackrabbit if it was injected with, Frazetta juice. It's like jumping through the bushes at like 30 miles an hour and proud. And I don't know, those guys are just so amazing. They can do that.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories about artists is Jack Davis. And when he was doing advertising work, he would just show up in the lobby, get the assignment, go back to the lobby, whip out his watercolors and ink, and do the piece sitting in the lobby, and then turn it in, and then ask for the check. I mean,
that was work for the day. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, holy shit, that's
next level, man. That's
so.
Maybe your boy Panosian, he reminds me now of the next Jack Davis. Just somehow can inject that animated kind of cartoon vibe into these really dense, beautiful textured drawings. I just don't know how that's accomplished. It's like magic to me.
Well, he had the school of hard knocks of having to get it done. I mean, he was there at Marvel. Cranking that shit out, and that served him well. It taught him, how to, once again, don't get precious with it, do it, and be done with it, but do it well. And he always tells a story, like before I really got to know him. I knew of him, of course, and I met him at some shows and stuff like that, but we really weren't friends. And he was doing all the Rob Liefeld stuff over at Image. And
it's like, what was that character he was doing? It had like gold and purple or something like that.
Prophet.
There you go.
And I hated it. I thought it was dreck. I didn't think he could draw that well. And one day I was at Barnes and Noble, and before the internet, if you needed reference, one of the best places to get reference was books and magazines. So I remember looking through a Muscle and Fitness, to get muscle reference, like anatomy reference. And I came across an article. It's funny, those magazines, the fact that they've been around for as long as they have, and you're like, how many times can you write about how to do the perfect curl?
No, this is how you squat.
Yeah, it's amazing. But there was one of those articles, and it was illustrated by Dan. And
cool.
it was done on gray paper, and he was using a completely different style than he was doing on Prophet, and he did white highlights. So it had, you know, he had shading and highlights, and it was so well drawn, and the muscles were all correct, and it blew me away. I was like, whoa,
yeah, who is this?
Come from? And I was so taken aback by it that I actually tracked his number down, or maybe it was his email. I can't remember. It might have been his email. And I said who I was. And I just said, dude, what the hell? You know, you're able to do that, but you're doing this. I said, dude, you gotta switch. You gotta bring what you're doing on Muscle Fitness over into your comic book work, because that is the shit. That is the money. And it really affected him. And he really took it to heart, and he started doing it. So
I was the same as you. I never was a big fan of that image style that was so big at the time. And then I don't remember what it was that I saw of his, but something popped up. I'm like, who drew that? Panosian? And I was immediately hooked. And now it's like crack. I mean, I just follow the guy on every social media, and I just eat it up.
That's all I do too, man. Yeah. Anytime I'm feeling good about myself, I go check on Dan's page.
Don't give him a big head.
I even bought his comic book Sluts, which was really good.
Sluts. Yeah, I was always giving shit about that.
We'll try not to blow him up too much for you, Dave, because you got to go live with it.
Then he's going to be impossible. You know, he's already impossible.
Have they optioned Sluts yet, or?
Jeez, yeah, keep calling him sluts to his face. Let's see.
Okay. You know. Make sure I'm at that show there, JC.
Yeah, I want to see what happens.
I've seen him at the punching bag. He's pretty rough.
Oh, he's going to be perfectly fine in fisticuffs. I can assure you that.
Oh, believe me, I work out with him now since the pandemic, and he's got a little area. He lives in the Hollywood Hills, and so there's like a huge walk up all these stairs to another level behind his house, and he set up outside a permanent heavy bag, and I go over there 3 times a week, and we hit the heavy bag and we do stairs.
Excellent, sir.
But yeah, his goal is to knock the bag. You know, it's like concrete. You know, he actually put concrete in the ground and attached the bag to the post into the concrete, and his goal is to eventually knock it loose. And I'm like, you know, I've never seen somebody want to destroy their own property so bad. So he could say he did it. But yeah, that guy hits so freaking hard. Yeah, Dan used to be a bouncer, you know, in a really rough part of town. You know, he used to get shot at every once in a while. You know, Dan's not worried about
true
a fan.
Fucking animal. You don't want to fuck with him, man. Savage.
It's funny. One of my vices is I play video games, particularly Grand Theft Auto. And the other day, some guy, you know, really just got super angry that, you know, I killed him a couple of times, you know, which he started, by the way.
And that's kind of the fucking point. You fight, right? And sometimes you lose.
It's a game, you know. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. And, you know, I don't take it personally, but he did. And so I started clowning him. I said, hey, you're a very angry person. do you need a hug? I'll be happy to give you a hug. And he responded a day later. He's sending me all these voice messages saying, I'm gonna find you. Anytime you're playing this game, you better bring like 800 of your friends because I'm gonna take you out. And
for Grand Theft Auto, the game where you beat hookers and like drive off ramps and shit.
Yeah, it was so. By the way, that part of the game got so overblown. I mean, it's.
I played it. The story was a lot of fun. It's a good little fantasy story about kooky characters, as far as I remember.
I mean, it's funny. I kind of left the story part pretty quickly and just started playing online, where you're just, I love the randomness of, you never know who else is in that lobby, that you're going to have to deal with.
Wheel of Destiny.
Yeah, I used to play Destiny, but this one's, it never gets, as much as I love Destiny, it still it feels like you're on a rail. You can't.
I actually don't even know that. I was just saying you're kind of on the wheel of destiny when you choose. Like you just show up in a lobby and there's 4 racists, a 12-year-old, and a couple lonely dudes all ready to scream at each other and fight.
Yeah, I thought you were talking. There was another game called Destiny, which was like one of the best sci-fi games I've ever played. But I like games where you don't feel like you're on a track.
The rat wheel or whatever, just again and again.
Well, yeah, or I want to be able to make my own decisions. And the games that I love the most where they set up a world. You can play at any level you want and any speed you want, and you just enjoy it, and that's what Grand Theft Auto is to me. It's
cool, man.
Fun freaking game. And living in LA, it was such a treat to just drive around basically LA in any kind of car I wanted and act like a complete like psychopath. But the mechanics are great. The cars are great. They really feel like they've got weight to them. In the way that they react, So
good gameplay mechanics and everything.
Well, yeah. If you like racing games, I think Grand Theft has created one of the best racing games out there
within the own game. Oh, that's cool, man.
Well, they also do racing things. It's not just going around killing people. They have so many different types of races you can race, which you can also be an asshole in those too.
You can still beat hookers.
No. Once again, that part of the game just got all the attention, but believe me, it's like, that's like saying, I don't know.
I'm joshing you, sir, but I don't know much. I played the game and it was a lot of fun.
I've had this discussion with people that have never played the game, and that's all they think it is. And I'm like, no, it's so much more than that. But
could we get back to the hooker part?
Yeah, just to circle back to
what else can we do with the hookers?
Well, it turns out you can do a lot with the hookers. But,
you can be their friend.
You can be their friend. You can pay them money for services around your turn.
Dave just drives them around Bakersfield in his cool video game car.
There you go. So,
finds the one with the heart of gold and tries to turn her.
I'm a broken wing fanatic. I love people with broken wings. I gotta try to fix it. So,
what type of car do you drive in that, Dave? Just because it's cool.
It's funny. I mean, they have everything from the highest level supercars to the shittiest,
like a pacer. You could just drive around. You could
exactly. And the high-end cars are so responsive and so fast. But my all-time favorite is it's a 1967 Corvette convertible. Of course, they don't call it a Corvette, they call it something else. Because
it's free that way.
Yeah. But it's funny. It's slightly overpowered for the handling characteristics, but that to me makes it fun. You know, you just
it's not a simulation, is it? You're trying to have fun rather than simulate accurate life, I would suspect.
Well, but no, I mean, if you've got an overpowered car, you end up spinning the wheels more than gripping the wheels. And that's what makes it fun. I'm fishtailing and doing donuts, and it's not the fastest car, it's not the most responsive car, but man, it's the most fun to drive for me. You know.
Well, that's cool.
So
I always like jumping off things, and you'd like end up in a river, and you could just get out, swim over, kick a hooker on your way back to the city, and steal another car.
Jesus, man, you're obsessed with the hooker angle, aren't you?
Dave, he's talking about hookers. Could you be quiet for a second? Yeah. I want to hear about the hookers.
I want to make sure he's not talking about real life. You know?
Maybe all fantasy, bro.
Yeah.
Dave, were you connected to that episode of where Dan was had his car pimped out?
Dude, I'm the reason he got on that show.
No kidding.
I was a huge fan of that show, and I knew that if I just made a tape that, you know, just like every other schmo, you know, it would probably just sit and languish and never get made. And I knew I had an ace up my sleeve, which was Josh Barnett. So
the War Master.
And Josh is a huge car guy. And I thought if anybody could get us a shot on the show, it would be him because of his fame. Because I know I knew they did, you know, celebrity, you know, episodes before, and sure enough, right to the top immediately. I mean, no waiting. It just went straight into production. Unfortunately, for some reason, they didn't want me on the show at all.
That's why I asked, because I remember I watched that and I don't remember seeing you in there.
Yeah, they in their
that fucking sucks.
Maybe they just. I mean, it was so weird because they had so many other episodes where you had the insider and then you had a ton of other people.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you know, they had friends of friends, and for some reason on that episode, they didn't want me anywhere near it.
No, it'd be funny if that kid you were fighting online was the showrunner or something like that.
I don't know. It was so weird.
They no reason. They just said get out of here, or just don't.
Yeah, I mean, Josh tried to get me on, and they were just like, nope, don't want him. So
weird, man. That doesn't even make sense.
Were you wearing your fez?
I
wasn't. Look, dude, they didn't even meet me. They just said no right away.
Wow.
But it's funny. I got to go to the reveal, but once again, they didn't want me anywhere near the camera. So it kind of hurt.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, I was like, man, if it wasn't for me, you know, I am the insider, you know, but it made it look like it was all Josh's idea, and I guess that fit the narrative. But yeah, it sucked. I mean, it
sucks
hurt.
Butts, man.
So
no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah, you know.
When I was out in LA, I was invited to be in a porno, just a walk on, you know, like they're fucking, and my wife and I just kind of walk by and gawk, kind of a thing.
All right,
classy.
And
yeah, we opted out, but now looking back, I wish we had done it just for posterity.
I actually when I worked at Stanley Media, I worked with a guy who was in the animation department, and we became friends. And after Stanley Media, he started dating a porn star. And, initially you're like, hey, I'm dating a porn star. This is awesome. Yay. But then, things started getting more serious between the two. And, jealousy started happening. And, he was kind of like, hey, I don't know if I like this anymore. You're going off screwing other guys. And
it doesn't work.
So it was a hard day at work, honey. It was no dice tonight. I got to go to bed.
So
I just don't know. Yeah, that's got to be hard, man.
So she liked him enough to said, well, look, how about, I still got to make a living. What if I only do lesbian porn?
I knew that's where this was going. I knew.
Yeah, he had no problem with that. But eventually the money wasn't as good. So she came back and said, well, look, I got, this is my job. I got to do this. So he's like, well, what if, you're going to love where this is going. What if I do it with you and then it won't be so bad? And she goes, okay. So he started doing porn.
Wow.
And that friend was Stan Lee.
Yeah. That was a cool Stan Lee story there, Dave.
So
Mini Coletta's in the corner.
Oh no! Let's let Dave tell a story and not ruin our guest here.
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, Dave.
No, it's cool. So eventually he, realizes that, it's not that big of a deal, So he starts doing it separately from her, like, and they stay together. But the reason I'm telling you this story is one day I was working at home, minding my own business. It was a weekend. And this is when I was living in the Valley. And I get a call from, I'm not going to say his name, but he goes, what are you doing right now? And I said, yeah, I'm just working. He goes, we need your help. We're shooting and she was, the porn star was Asian. And they decided they wanted to start producing their own porn. And the concept they came up with was Asian guys, doing it with, like Caucasian women. And they, did a call out for, Asian, amateur talent. And they were being overwhelmed by how much shit had to be done. And they wanted to know if I could be basically a PA on a porn shoot. And I was like, and I thought about it and I'm like, well, when am I ever going to get that offer again?
That's a story.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that would be a wild ass memory that
crowd pleaser.
I could look back on as an old man and go, yeah, I was on a porn shoot. But it's funny, on my way there, I get a phone call from my buddy, and he's like, hey, before you get here, can you stop by a liquor store? And I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess, I'd never been on a porn shoot, so I guess they need liquor to loosen up the new talent, and so I said, sure, yeah, what do you need? And he goes, we need a pina colada mix. And I'm like, all right, yeah, no problem. So I said, you don't need any alcohol? And he goes, no, I just need pina colada mix. So I buy a big old bottle of pina colada mix. I show up, sure enough, there's like a bunch of Asian amateurs and all that. And so I said, well, here's your pina colada mix. Where are you going to make the drinks? He goes, oh, no, we're not making drinks. It's fake semen.
Whoa. It's fake bagats.
Yeah. Turns out a lot of what you see in porn, especially like the still photographs, if there's a copious amount of it,
Yeah.
It's probably pina colada mix. By
the way, Dave, just to put it to, by the way, thank you for sharing that story. A+. And it's apropos because somebody's roommate is a very award-winning porn star.
That's right.
JC has years and years of porn experience.
That's how I was invited to be a walk-on. One of my best friends growing up was the 2010 Best Actor AVN Award winner. Eric Swiss was his stage name.
My friend, and feel free to edit it. He goes by the name of his stage name is Alec Knight.
Alec Knight.
But his given name was Stanley Morton Lieber.
Yeah. But he was dating a porn star named Mika Tan.
Mika Tan. Okay. Yeah, did you know her, JC?
Yeah. We crossed paths once.
Yeah. So
there you go, huh?
She was a solid 8.
I mean,
well, geez, we got a critic in the house.
I mean, what I liked about Miko was she was actually very intelligent. You know, she wasn't like your standard.
That had to be refreshing, right?
Yeah, I mean, she was. You know, you could talk to her. You know?
Well,
I mean, it wasn't all just me, and insecurities and all that kind of stuff. So
no, they're highly. My friend, he would sometimes spend his Christmases out in LA, and so a lot of the porn actors would get together and have Thanksgiving, have a Thanksgiving.
Oh, dinner. Yeah, dude, I went to 2 of those.
Wow, maybe you know my buddy.
Small world.
I don't remember. I mean, believe me, I don't remember a lot from those days, but I do remember, Mika was an amazing cook. I mean, they would make a spread. And yeah, it was so nuts having Thanksgiving with a bunch of porn stars. I mean, what a crazy,
surreal, right?
Oh, super surreal.
They're just people. They're just people who you've seen naked a lot.
Yeah, and, but then pour pina colada all over themselves.
Yeah, but then I remember one time this crazy editor who used to take Russian speed to stay up 3 days in a row.
Like fighter pilot math and shit.
yeah, like this crazy military speed that you used to take. But he shows up late and he's like, "Oh, I got to show you my latest edit," and so here I am eating turkey and watching his latest edit.
Oh no.
Full on DP anal, and I'm just like, good Christ, you can't make this stuff up. This is crazy.
It's bananas. Well, my friend calls me up. He's like, or actually maybe we were just talking. I can't remember if we were in person or not. But he had one of these Thanksgiving meals with a bunch of the other porno actors, and he was talking to one of the gay actors who did gay porn.
Yeah,
and I think he was a black guy. I can't remember for sure, but this guy used to get flown out to an island with a very well-known Hollywood actor who's also a Scientologist.
Yeah.
And he told my buddy Paul, he's like, this guy flies me out to the island, and then he wants to wrestle. He likes to wrestle with me like we're like high school wrestling, and then we do gay stuff.
Obviously, we're gonna have to edit that part out,
Dave, I see that you've actually improved. You've corrected the fupa that Michael Golden was once famous for.
Yeah,
Is that the gun?
Yeah.
There's only so much I can kind of let go.
I got rid of his birthing hips, but Dave, you just kicked my ass. I don't even know what to do with this dude's inks, or at least at this level. If I had him an annual, but that's part of the show. It wouldn't be fun if I kicked ass all the time.
I mean, it helps that it's such a huge piece of art. There's a lot more to. I can play around with the inks and all that kind of stuff. So, I got a bit of an advantage on that. So,
stunning though. I'll be doing a lot of reduction and stuff on this to help make it pop. So I'm trying to make the inks a little chunky,
Yeah.
Just trying new stuff. And that's one thing I'm trying to do on this show to, you know me, I'm about as anal as it gets as far as artwork and shit goes. So that's what I'm trying to do on this show. Be water, my friend.
No, I totally get it. I mean, I learned more from drink and draw, just sitting in a bar about my own art style than ever just doing the actual art for, like regular stuff. Because you're allowed to make mistakes. You grow that way because it doesn't matter if you do make a mistake or if you fuck up. So,
and that's a great point. You can just, because that's my problem. I think because I'm such a shitty talent that I have to just be at 100% to even be able to compete with guys barely trying, So yeah, it just created this anal retentiveness in me that I'm already OCD. So yeah, so I'm trying to grow.
Believe me, I totally get it. So,
and I've watched you progress as an artist, which is really neat to see. When the bad MFers, you see them evolve. You, Dan, Michael Golden, he cleaned his stuff up and.
Oh yeah, totally. In some ways, I feel like I've regressed a little bit. But it comes and goes and ebbs and flows and all that kind of fun stuff. So you just kind of have to deal with it and, move on.
That's part of being a pro, right? Just, you pick yourself up and you go, because nobody gives a shit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you're the worst critic, you kind of have to go, well, don't be so hard on yourself, just, it is what it is. Deal with it, move on, once again, maybe the next time it'll be way better.
You have an amazing attitude there, because I can't ever tell myself that.
Oh, well, once again, I might tell myself that, but doesn't mean I necessarily believe it. So don't be too hard on yourself.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave. Do you find solace in like other artists when they have the same fucked up foibles as you? Like you're like, I remember talking to Mignola and he was telling me something he was upset or insecure about. And I was just like, oh, wow, I feel better about myself because I have that same thought every day. I don't
know if it necessarily makes me feel better, but
I'm a shallow man, Dave.
Well, no, I mean, maybe it gives me more of a kinship, I guess.
I guess that's a better way to say it, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes me feel any better because it doesn't affect me, them feeling that way. I'm still going to wake up tomorrow and still feel the same way I feel today, which is shitty because I want to be better. So, yeah, I don't get what is it? What's that German word? Schadenfreude. Of people's misery, I guess.
Yeah, I live in that state.
Unless I don't like the person, then yeah, they can go screw themselves. But yeah, man, I wish it was easier. I wish I wish it didn't take so much pain and anguish to get the kind of product I want, to have finished, when I'm all said and done. So
I can empathize there. And I guess that's where I find a little bit of emotional sanctuary when people from my perspective, a bad motherfucker's like, well, shit, I gotta, basically what you're admitting to right now, that you got a revector and you have in these same artist securities, even when you got to teach yourself to grow and be self-aware, and you're going to take hits on the chin like you do now at my level, even when you're at your level, and you have to learn to deal with it. And it's interesting that you seem to be so healthy about it.
Well, the other thing I think is you need to become comfortable with what you're doing, and try not to, compare yourself too much to what other people are capable of, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Did you guys see there have been some interviews out there with Barry Windsor Smith recently about his new graphic novel?
No.
I lean on you for that info.
Oh, he just produced a 300-page graphic novel called Monster, which Fantagraphics is putting out, and it's out now. And they're basically saying nobody else is going to win any awards this year except for Barry.
Well, yeah. I hate to break it to him, but yeah, the awards never go the way you want them to go, or where they should go. You know,
that's what I was bringing up before. It's just a couple dudes' opinions, and politics matter, and fans online matter. It's out of your control, man.
Barry was kind of was echoing both of your statements. You know, I mean, he was basically saying it's such a grind for me. You know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because it's a painful process for me, and then I look at say like Dave's stuff, and it just seems like you're fucking playing music in your head while drawing. So it's always interesting when I say I find solace in other people, it's not because they're miserable. It's because I know I'm not just the only crazy asshole struggling out there, and I guess that reassures me. Okay, other people are surviving this.
It's funny. Me and Dan were talking the other day, and we both. It's funny. We both agreed, and this will probably drive you nuts thinking about. But you know, if either of us win the lottery, neither of us are probably going to be drawn professionally ever again, because it is such a pain in the ass. And you know, comics will break your heart, kid.
Yeah, that's about as true as it gets, right?
Yep.
That was said very correctly.
So you would just toss your pen into the garbage and be off to drink. I don't want to say pina coladas, but
yeah. I don't think I would give up drawing, but I would definitely give up drawing as a career.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever really enjoyed drawing in recent memories was doing drinking draws. You know,
the camaraderie and.
Well, the freedom of just doing whatever felt fun to do at the time. You know, there was no rules, no limits.
Yeah, that's where you came up with your Klimt women, and that I remember. Exactly. I used to follow you like a drunk groupie. So I always loved those Klimt women, man.
Are those the ones with the cankles?
Yes.
Yeah, I love those.
They're always wearing like pattern clothes and stuff. Is just watching you be an artist, Dave's a pleasure, man. Not just smoke your pole too much.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Speaking of toxic fandom, I remember getting in a big argument with some guy who, just felt like he had to come and bust my balls about those drawings.
He didn't like cankles?
Well,
I mean, nobody likes cankles. I mean, let's be honest.
Leonard Nimoy likes cankles, but go on.
Well, Trump might be into cankles.
But he was just going on and on and on about it, and I decided to play around with it and see where it was going to go, and I eventually got him to admit the reason he didn't like them because he couldn't masturbate to them.
That's great, dude.
And I said, I basically got him to admit, I said, what do you think is sexy then? And it's so ironic that the art that he sent me was women with boobs that were so big that, I mean, we're talking, bigger than beach balls. Just sloppy.
Just novelty.
I mean, completely unrealistic, just like the cankles were. I mean, the cankles weren't meant to be sexy. They were just a way to fill up space. It was just an exercise of just me.
That's kind of why I loved it, Dave. You're just being an artist, man. You're just. Yeah, I'm never like that. So I'm amazed at people like you that can just let go of the wheel and Tyler Durden it for a moment.
I love how it was a whole phase. Like Like it's
Like it's Dave Johnson's blue period, and
Right.
now it's his cankle period.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's always been my career. I hardly ever stick to one thing for too long. I mean, there are some things that I'd say, well, obviously this is working and it's fun to do, and I'll come back to a particular style or way of drawing. But ultimately, I mean, that's why I've never really wanted to be an interior guy, because you got to draw the same shit over and over and over and over.
That's
and
my
over.
problem.
And
I
I
get
just
bored.
get bored with it. Yeah, I once again, for me, art is not fun. I'm always envious of the guys that, oh, I got some time off, I'm going to sit down and draw. And I'm like, no, drawing's a
Seems
job.
like that's alien to me. Like,
I mean, that's like being a McDonald's worker and going, hey, I got some time off, I'm going to go make some McDonald's burgers.
hey, let's make some fries.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a filet McFish at home.
That is like the last thing I want to do when I'm not drawing, is go back and draw some more, and I mean, once again, the drink and draw thing was fun for me because it was more about hanging out with other artist friends, not necessarily.
I was so envious of that, Dave. I've never had like a connection like that or a group of people. I was either on the outside, or by the time I made it, you can just, and I'm sure you get this at absurd levels, you can just feel the people looking at you, like waiting. And it's like, I don't know what to say or do. I thought we were all here drawing,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's ultimately what we were doing. We were just like, it's not a contest. We weren't trying to friendly wise, we were having fun trying to outdo each other, but ultimately it was just for shit and giggles. There was no winner or loser. You just do what you wanted to do and had fun doing it.
And that showed in the energy. Everybody from you, Dan, to Jeff, it seemed like you were almost at the party with them. That's what I loved about what you guys invented. It was rare.
I mean, early on, it was even more so like that. I mean, we would just bring chipboard and just do the goofiest drawings, just trying to make each other laugh. And but then we did the first book, and it was like, oh shit,
you got something.
Well, now it's being published. Now we got to put some effort into it. And that kind of ruined it a little bit, but at the same time, I thought some really kick-ass art came out of it. I mean, that second volume blows the first one away as far as artistic merit.
But it's still brilliant. I got them all, but they're brilliant. Well, I don't know if you guys have new ones, but they're brilliant, man.
We didn't make any money. That's why we didn't do any more. It was like, wow, why are we doing this? Like, why are we publishing this? Like, we probably should have. I mean, if we had a Kickstarter, that might have been a better way to go. But having to deal with publishers and, our bottom line says you actually owe us money, and we're like, oh. So we just kind of ended it at 2. Maybe someday we'll do another one, but
fingers crossed. I'll run the damn Kickstarter for you, sir.
Boy, don't ever agree to do that. Somebody might take you up on that.
JC will run the Kickstarter for you, sir.
Oh boy!
It's not so much running the Kickstarter; it's fulfilling the Kickstarter.
I actually had a fairly successful Kickstarter for Wild Blue Yonder, and it was, to Dave's point, an absolute fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
There's insane people out there, and if you do something where you got to send hundreds and hundreds of copies out, by the time you sign like 200 and stuff it in a box, you start resenting people for supporting you.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, and luckily, I mean, I can't really complain because Jimmy and a guy named Patrick Wedge did all our pop kill stuff, and but they were complaining about, about the people that would, months after the thing, and they would write and complain that they never got the book, but they never filled out the survey.
Yeah, I ran into that literally like 45 times.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on here? What is?
I mean, and believe me, those guys sent out email after email saying, fill out the survey, fill out the survey, fill out the survey. And they just didn't.
Dave, you drew a Jupiter's Legacy cover, didn't you?
Did I?
I believe you did.
Legacy? I forgot the title name, but yeah, I did something for Millar. It was two girls dancing.
Yes.
Yes. Remember that cover now.
Yeah, that was a hard one because I'm not really a chick artist. I'm more, just hard and, feminine curves are not what I'm known for.
I beg to differ, man. Your 100 bullets. You never drew a bag female on that, dude. So.
Well, I'm just saying it's not my go-to.
Okay.
It's not something that comes easy. So having to draw two women and other people behind them dancing, man, talk about a nightmare. I wish I had reference or something, but yeah, it turned out. I was trying to get that energy, of some two people dancing in a nightclub, and I think it turned out okay.
Most deaf, sir.
Yeah.
God, you fucked me up, dude. These pencils were a little buttery, and I don't know the character well, but you absolutely fucking wrecked me. I'm gonna put in negative lines, but holy shit!
I'm gonna do that with whiteout. It's funny. For years, I hated whiteout. It was a pain in the ass to use because I was using pens and stuff, and then finally, I've grown to like it. Especially for doing the white highlights on lines and stuff like that. In the past, I would have tried to do it all on ink.
That's what I did for a while, and I started using like negative reductions, like almost in painting, just minor ways. But then I found these effing Posca markers, and now, man.
Well, you use regular ink a lot, right?
Yeah.
See, those don't work with markers.
Really? It just sucks it up or bleeds through, or
it bleeds through. Whereas if you use the Dr. Martin bleed proof white, that works so much better.
I use a little mix of Kohinoor with Chinese white acrylic, and it plates nicely for me. But for like my white reductions, when I want an actual line, I can do such neat stuff with this. I can come back, put a few circles, and then I can come and even do like a little, with my fingerprint here a little bit. I guess that's why I become a little more painterly and not as anal when I use these things.
Yeah, no, I've used them for other things, and they work okay in certain applications. But, like I'm a big fan of guys like Jorge Safino and.
Oh yes.
And, Christ Almighty, that those originals were like a pound of
like relief sculptures almost.
Yeah, I don't even know how they shot half those things.
I was not ready for seeing one of his originals. It just didn't make sense to me.
Oh, by the way, since we're talking about Mike Golden, so I don't know if you remember the Deathstroke issue that came out that Mike Golden did.
Yes. He did like 3 pages.
See, look at that mechanical work. Holy shit.
So he only drew like 3 pages, like the first 2 and then the last.
Nope. It was 4 pages.
4 pages.
Oh my God.
And I got them all.
Oh my God.
You son of a bitch.
I bought them at I was like,
oh my Lord.
That's
holy crap. So
That's insanity.
Peak of his power.
And what always killed me about his work, and I tried to do the same thing, is almost no whiteout. Every line exactly the way you wanted it. Love that. That was the same way. I like if I screw up, I'll just add more ink.
Yeah, when in doubt, blacken out, right?
Exactly. So yeah, that was awesome.
Hey Dave, I want to thank you for being on the show, man. You are obviously I've smoked your pull enough. Thank you, man. Kicked ass for us, and you told some great stories. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, it was fun to be on, and once again, I could never afford that Micronauts number 12 cover, and now I'm gonna have a facsimile that will be not as good, but I'll enjoy it. So
pretty damn cool, man.